Welcome to the Tammi Late Show on Fox Soul. Hi, everybody. Well, welcome to Friday. I'm Tammi Mac. I hope everybody's doing great out there. Shouts out to my Nina. What's up? I hope you stayed up late enough to watch the Tammi Late Show, because tonight we are talking about the tragic killing of Daunte Wright, why the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine has been put on hold, and Sharon Osbourne is getting candid about her conversation with former co-host of The Talk, Sharon Osbourne. Yeah. Now Cheryl Underwood's speaking on that thing. It's Friday, and that means the business of being Black are the trending political topics of the week. Please welcome my Friday faves co-host, the co-founder of the Antiracismky Coalition, Dr. Oleka. You think I'd get it right by now, Dr. Oleka?
Good to be with you, Tammi Mac.
Comedian and filmmaker Alycia Cooper is here, and our only goal tonight is to lift her spirits. Hi, Alycia.
Ooh, how you doing, Tammi?
Activist and radio personality Dominque Diprima. Hey, Dominque.
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Bring that fire tonight now. And political analyst Ed Sanders is on deck with us tonight as well. So I guess I can say, let's go. Let's get right into this here. Another innocent Black life has been taken. Last week, 20-year-old Daunte officer Kim Potter during a traffic stop. Police have characterized the shooting as an accident, saying Potter mistook her taser, or rather her gun, for a taser. So how does a 26-year police veteran and former police union president mistake a gun for a taser? Is this yet another intentional and unlawful use of force, people? I gotta know. Could it possibly be plausible that she really mistook it in the heat of the moment, Dominque?
Well, I find it hard to believe. I really do. I mean, this woman not only is a 26-year veteran, she was also president of the police union. She was a training officer. I am not a firearms expert, although I am a 2A girl, but to me, they seem very, very different. One's bright yellow. And the thing is, when you look at the tape, she had it out for a bit before she actually killed him. You know, it's hard for me to believe that.
Dr. Oleka, where do you stand?
Well, I'm actually with Dominque on this one, which for our regular soulmates is not something that always happens, which should tell you how tragic this particular incident is. I mean, the fact that she was on the force for 26 years, even if you hadn't had to pull your weapon until now, you certainly know where it is with regard to a taser versus a gun. And as Dominque pointed out, this isn't something that you can just get wrong if the weapon, whether it's a taser or a gun, has been in your hand for a while. They don't feel the same. They grip differently. The weight is different. So again, if you've been on the force for 26 years, this is something that you were aware of. I mean, I hate to say that someone is intentionally killing somebody, but it does become very difficult to understand how somebody could get something so wrong in a situation they should understand so well.
Ed?
I agree with both of you, but I think what's key here is that she was the president of the police union, and the excuse of "I thought my taser was my gun" is not a new one. It's one that we've seen in cases throughout the country where officers have killed someone and they try to blame it on the fact that they thought they had their taser. I think that's a common refrain. I think that's a common excuse that's put forward by officers, especially ones represented by their police union. I think what she got caught doing is offering up sort of the police union line on it, and it just doesn't fit in this circumstance.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Ed. You say that it matters that she was a police union president. So why do you think that weighs heavily in this situation?
Well, anytime you've seen officers that have been involved in shooting, I think one of the first things you see is they're pulled aside and they wait for their union rep to make a statement. And once that's done, these are the sort of statements that come out, especially when it's a shooting and certainly a high profile shooting like this. And my point on that is that the line, the excuse that's put forward, it is put forward and then it's advanced in the courts, and the courts accept it. And so It's part of a system that I think we've seen across this country that we've spoken about on this show, that you see how the police unions act to protect cops that have been wrongful in their actions.
That's why I call them cartels. They're really not unions. They're like cartels, because if you belong to a union, they don't try to get you out of murders. They try to get you higher pay, better working hours. They get you, benefits. They don't cover up like killings. And that's what cartels do. And I don't think that police unions should be allowed to donate to political parties. I don't think they should be endorsing political candidates. They're supposed to be protecting and serving everybody.
Yeah, agreed. Alycia, go for it.
Yeah, everything's a damn gun but a damn gun. You can have a cell phone. I thought it was a gun. A sandwich. I thought it was a gun. Keys. I thought it was a gun. A finger. I thought it was a gun. Skittles. I thought it was a gun. But an actual damn gun, I thought it was a taser. What part of the game is this? Like this whole thing needs to be revamped. How many more ways can they get away with killing somebody? And I think they also need to drug test this damn woman too. They drug test the dead bodies of the people. They need to drug test these cops, because this is absolutely ridiculous. And as I always say, they just need to revamp this thing from the ground up. This whole system is rotten. And this is just another example.
Yeah. Look, something extremely extraordinary, in my own opinion, happened when conservative televangelist Pat Robertson, who, is pro-police, definitely a Republican, extremely conservative. Couldn't believe a police officer would confuse a gun for a firearm. So I think do we have a clip of Pat Robertson or no? Wasn't sure on that. Okay, so that must be a no. Yeah, even Pat Robertson saying this poor young man that was shot, there's no way that they could have confused the two. So what are your thoughts after hearing him criticize police and the police's use of force when evangelist Pat Robertson takes a stand like this? There's got to be something, right? Pat Robertson.
Yes, this is something. And again, for the soulmates who may not be as familiar with Pat Robertson as me, our local resident Republican is on this. Pat Robertson was a foot soldier in the Reagan movement. He is very much respected in the religious right, the conservative evangelical movement. He is a televangelist. This man is a dyed-in-the-wool Christian conservative Republican in every possible way that you might think. The fact that he is coming out publicly and stating that this was absolutely wrong and there's no way that you could have gotten this thing wrong and that this type of activity needs to be reined in. His specific quote was that these types of people need to be put, quote, under the jail. Again, this is Pat Robertson, who would have voted for Reagan, who would have voted for every Bush that ever ran, who would have voted for every single Republican. I think this is a watershed moment in terms of the identity of what our side, my side, the Republican Party, is willing to think about and discuss with regard to being pro-police, being pro-Second Amendment, but being absolutely against an agent of the government being judge, jury, and executioner, as we've seen too many times when it doesn't have to happen.
Yeah. Kim Potter, who has been released on a $100,000 bond, is charged with second-degree manslaughter. If convicted, she would spend up to 10 years in prison and receive a $20,000 fine. Now, the question is that enough? But for me, the question, or the concern rather, is that even going to happen? There's no way this police union president, this officer on the force for 26 years will ever find a jury to convict her. And if I might add, this white woman, there's not a jury that will convict her, in my own opinion. Dominque, where do you stand?
Well, I think even if she does get convicted, she's not getting the 10 years, right? That's a maximum of 10 years or a $20,000 fine. So it could be a situation like with Oscar Grant, where the officer does get convicted, but they get a slap on the wrist. And that's also very problematic. Part of what we have to do, I think, when we're turning this around, reimagining policing, is, we've got to get some accountability here, some financial accountability, some real criminal accountability. And Dr. Oleka, if the Republican Party is really having a watershed moment with this Robertson moment, which was quite remarkable, can we get some support of the George Floyd Justice and Policing bill, please? Can we get some actual legislative movement here so that we can make these incidents less common?
Well, I think what we could do actually is find that middle ground on this. And this might be an unpopular thing to say, but I think if you do a good job in legislation in differentiating what police responsibility is, what public safety responsibility is, mental health supports and those provisions, but also providing the funding within the budgets to do so, but then you tack on a change in how police are treated under the law, I think you can find a middle ground where you could get a lot of folks to be supportive.
I like the way you slid that, get the resources. So really what you're saying is give the police more money and water down your bills. That's really what you're saying. And what I'm saying is pass the thing as it is, because it outlaws a lot of the things that made these two killings possible.
Well, what I'm saying is the two of you should somehow get into politics and work together. I think that a bipartisanship and bipartisan bills would definitely be on the table, and we'd see some real action with Dominque in the House or in the Senate, and Dr. Oleka in the House or Senate as well. I really think you guys, along with AOC, could work. We're going to take a quick break and come right back on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul, where tonight the business of being Black are the week's political trending topics. As the country continues to mourn the death of Daunte Wright, body camera footage from 13-year-old Adam Toledo's fatal encounter with Chicago police has just been released. On March 29th, Adam Toledo was shot and killed by Chicago police when police claimed he was holding a gun and refused officer requests to stop running. The recently released body cam video proves that Adam was unarmed. We do have a clip of that.
Right now! Hey, show me your hands. Drop it. Drop it.
Thoughts here? Does it ever end?
Well, it's just jarring, right? I can see all of us are sort of shocked into silence on it. You look at a young boy like that, 13 years old. I'm struck by it. I have a 12-year-old boy, and it's one of those things. We've always talked about the talk, right, that you have to have with your kid, and how they need to conduct themselves in order to protect themselves. How the rules aren't the same for them, and this is just further evidence of that. One thing that I am happy about in this is that these body cams and the footage that you get from them is starting to shed a lot of transparency on this. I think it's been hard on us emotionally because we're seeing more and more of it. It's obviously being captured on video, but the body cam and the transparency of it is an important feature here.
Well, you would think it was an important feature, but clearly not important enough for police to think twice when they shoot and kill people. I mean, and I have to say that it's clear that they could care less, because there are no consequences. There are no repercussions when it comes to killing a human soul. And the fact that there are cameras on them that belong to other people, the fact that their own camera is recording them means absolutely nothing, because in the end, we all know nothing's going to happen. And I would tell y'all, I am very fearful of what's going to happen in this Derek Chauvin trial. I mean, it looked as if it was a shoo-in that he becomes guilty, that he is found guilty, but we cannot, that's not a given in this America we live in. It's not a given. Alycia?
Yeah, no, I mean, it just all depends on who's on the jury. So no, it's definitely not a given. And they're throwing 1,000 things up against the wall to see what sticks. Carbon monoxide poison. Even if he died of carbon monoxide poison, that's still Derek Chauvin's fault because he was in his custody at that time. So I don't know how that's going to help. You're just admitting you killed him several ways. So, it's just terrible. Like you said, that we shouldn't even need a trial for somebody who murdered somebody on camera. But since we have to go through the motions and spend all these weeks on something that should have been open and shut, And then you have to worry about who's on this jury. That's why they have jury consultants, and they can have more strikes than the prosecution. So, they got to stack the jury their way. Nothing is guaranteed. And yeah, I mean, their Chauvin trial could go either way. And that's the sad part about it.
Yeah, Dr. Oleka, how do you feel about these body cams? I mean, we all fought and really tried to encourage police departments to have mandatory body cams, but even these body cams are making no difference. They're still killing people on camera. It's almost as if they're smiling and killing people and smiling for the camera.
Well, body cam footage, I think, is interesting, and I'd have to look at the law on this specifically, because I think a lot of the laws just say that police have to have them on, as opposed to, is there any actual repercussions or consequences if you have them off, number one, and then two, how permissible is this evidence within the court process? And the reason why I bring those things up is because, unfortunately, these things take a wave. When you have body camera footage, when you have body cams, people who have been on the force or been trained in a certain way for years probably won't act very differently than they had been before, whether or not there's a camera on them or not. So it does become incumbent upon the jury to look at the evidence, to make a decision when there is evidently no reason for somebody to lose their life at the hands of the police. But I also wonder, what can the law do with regard to strengthening the importance of having body camera footage and having the body cams on? Because I think that's another aspect of this, where in a number of these cases, the cameras were turned off, and people say that happened for different reasons. But there's got to be a higher deterrent for people not having body camera footage available. And then when it is available, making sure that it is permissible and made available to the public a lot sooner than it currently is.
Dominque?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Dr. Oleka is right in the sense that the law hasn't caught up with the technology. I know that the rules around those body cameras are different from city to city, state to state, mostly city to city. And it's not just about the body camera footage, it's also about the bystander footage. What are the rules? Many times those bystanders are targeted by police departments and punished for taking those tapes. When you got the body cam footage, you find that the police departments release it when it served their purposes, and when it doesn't serve their purposes, they don't release it. So there have to be rules about when it's released, if it can be edited, who has access to it, and those need to be uniform. And I think that is what is going to make this more effective. And as Dr. Oleka said, also the fact that you have consequences for turning them off, because they conveniently turn off those cameras. I think what we just saw with this most recent shooting, of Daunte Wright, it's like that body camera footage was released immediately because that police chief felt that it would prove that she thought it was a taser. So that's why he suddenly released it. If it wasn't going their way, they get a chance to look at it and get their story together. So that can actually be detrimental to justice.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that just because she was saying taser, 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 doesn't mean that she didn't know it was a gun. I don't feel that way at all. I think her saying taser, taser, taser is equivalent to police officers saying, stop resisting when no one's resisting. I mean, we have found on the tape that they say that just for GP, whether you're resisting or not resisting, you will hear officers say, stop resisting, just so that they can be in the right. And I think that was the taser, taser, taser call. Let's go to our soulmates here. Emerald Archer. Hi, Emerald. When you upholster the taser, you cannot just use it. The taser has a safety. The safety must be disengaged just to load a charge to fire that model taser. So I think they're arguing back and forth here on tasers versus gun and safety clips and all of that. But 90% of all models of police tasers have safeties on them. Even pepper spray has safeties on them. I'm not a police officer, never touched a taser. And I have a cute little crystal pepper spray object that I don't even know has pepper spray in it or not. So I'm not sure of what the police tasers and the police guns look like or how their safeties are. Gentile Killer says, if you don't have discipline, you will get smoked like a turkey on Thanksgiving Day by the police. I said police. I'm sure Gentile Killer said police. Therese says he could have shot the boy in the foot if he thought he was in danger. He didn't have to kill that kid, but these cops are shooting to kill in minority neighborhoods. Keanu Sbordo says, what a dumb statement. It was not a murder. Therese says body cams are a waste of money. Ed, are they a waste of money?
No, I don't think so at all. A situation like this would have occurred 10 years ago, and what you would have gotten was a police report. And we have no way of knowing that, officers were forging lies on reports or misconstruing what was written down. The body cams help because you have to be able to see it, and you have to be able to record what's happening. In the end game, are they expensive? Yeah, I'm sure they are. But this is a problem that requires expense and resources to be thrown at it. The next phase of it is really a questioning of who are we hiring into these roles to serve as our sworn officers. Dominque, I think you referenced how it's a they, the police departments and the officers take on this us versus them. And what has to get to the point is that police departments don't have to feel the need to protect every officer. If an officer does something wrong, highlight it. This officer did something wrong. We're getting rid of them, and you move forward. That's the sort of transparency that you have in any company, in any corporate world, any nonprofit world, and it's required in law enforcement.
Well, that's why Dominque said it's a cartel, because they protect one another.
Yeah, and they also protect
they're made men, so no one can harm them.
And they protect the ones that do wrong. They don't protect the ones that do right. I just read the other day that the officer that was fired, Carrie L. Horn, out there in Rochester, New York, I believe, or Buffalo, New York, she just got her pension after fighting for 15 years. And she finally got her pension. It's worth $1 million. She stopped a white officer from choking and killing a handcuffed black suspect, and they fired her. So just like Dominque said, the cartel doesn't play. Instead of rewarding this lady, she was fired and he was promoted.
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
They make it so difficult to do the right thing.
In the wake of everything that's going on with unarmed Black men, do any of you believe that there's any one change to police procedure that will remedy the entire problem of how cops treat and handle Black people?
Maybe they can have an anonymous line where good cops can turn in bad cops anonymously, because they are afraid to do the right thing.
Yeah, I've been hearing
financial liability would make the biggest difference, but let's pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act too.
I think really a lot of the solution comes to this third branch of government, and particularly the one of the people with regard to juries and the court system. I mean, imagine if you actually had conviction rates that skyrocketed based on these incidents due to body cam footage, due to bystander footage, due to juries making a different decision than they have historically with regard to these incidents with police officers that lead to deaths because of police actions. I think if you started to see immediate prosecution, again, when it's appropriate, I am a believer in due process, but when it's appropriate in these instances that we're talking about, and you actually have convictions, then I think the police departments would reform themselves.
But they have to bring the case first. So that's not just juries, that's prosecutors.
That's prosecutors.
Here in LA, we've got a progressive prosecutor, and the police union and the prosecutors union are trying to stop his agenda, even though the voters voted that in. So, and one of the main reasons we did so is because we want to see these cases brought against cops who kill.
I think that litigation is good. I mean, again, I am a conservative Republican. I believe that systems can work. They can. We know that they don't right now for all of us, for Black people specifically in a lot of instances. But these are the chances and these are the opportunities where we can show that they can be good. And if you actually have a system where you have prosecutors bring the case, where they litigate it, where juries look at all the footage and you have convictions, as in the case with Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, I think you can actually see the tide turn. The public is already there. I think you can have communities.
Yeah, but what percentage of cases are even getting brought, Dr. Oleka? I mean, when you wish upon a star, okay, but it's like 1/10 of 1% of the cases that need to be brought, and even those aren't ending in convictions.
It's true. I can't disagree with that.
Well, since we are not disagreeing right now, let's take a quick commercial break and come back and disagree, because I want to find out. I want to find out exactly what Black friendships are about when you're white. We're going to find that out when we return on the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. I am Tammi Mack, and along with me tonight is Dr. O.J. Oleka. I have Dominque Diprima in with us, Ed Sanders, and Alycia Cooper. We are actually reviewing This Week in Politics. Let's go to the chat room here and see what our soulmates are saying. Jay Warburton says, step 1, stop resisting arrest. Okay, Jay. I'll what do you call it when you playing poker? I'll see your stop resisting arrest and I'll raise you. What about all of them who didn't? What about those that didn't?
Raise you to Tamir Rice. How about that?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's cute to say that, but we see what it is, Jay, and we think you should open your eyes and see as well. Incog, welcome to the conversation. Hit the police pensions, and then I guarantee you this nonsense or fatalities will dwindle. That's what you said, Dominque, to a certain extent, that you have to hit the pocket. The finances have to be upset, have to be shook.
Yeah, I mean, cities are paying millions and millions of dollars, which means we are paying police to kill us. That's a problem.
Okay. All right. Let's do this right now. Sports co-host and former NFL player Shannon Sharpe, who I am beginning to really, really love, even more than Stephen A. Shannon Sharpe came through with a word regarding Black friendships. Take a look.
If you say, I got Black friends, and you can't empathize with what the plight that they're going through right now, Black friends, you know Black people. There's a difference between the two.
That is true.
Is there a difference between the two, Ed?
I'm like Skip Bayless at the very end of that. What he said is true, and it applies all across the board. I mean, I think all of us, whether Black, white, Asian, you think about it, if you can't have empathy for another person, I don't see how you can call them a friend. But especially true when it comes to dealing with us.
Dr.
Ed is
Oleka?
100% correct on this, and I have a personal story on this, and I think I've shared on your show before, Tammi Mack. I worked for an elected official, Republican, white woman, and when Philando Castile was killed by police, she called me and asked me how I was doing and how I was dealing with it, and she said she did that because when she saw that, she said, this could have been you. This could have been my friend. That's the difference when you have Black friends versus knowing Black people. Because when you know Black people, you start to make excuses for something that you believed in because of some general idea. When you have Black friends, then you put yourself in the situation, what if I lost my friend? What if this good person who I know to be a genuine, positive individual in my life was taken from me?
Dr. Oleka, you making me feel good today.
He acting like a Democrat right now.
No, I'm acting like a Republican. This is how our party ought to be, and I am proud to be that positive representation.
But I like that. If you have a friend and to empathize with your Black friend means, oh my God, what if that happened to my friend and I lost my friend? Even I didn't think of that. Hell. I mean, I honestly, I have to rethink some of my white friendships now. Y'all people got me trying to be too woke up in here. I have to be honest. I was kind of cool with my shallow white relationships. I was real cool. But now, I feel like my neighbor next door. I feel like I got to go across, knock on his door tonight and be like, do you think that my husband might die? Do you have empathy for my Black husband? If not, don't bring your salmon and asparagus over here no more. That's how I feel. I ain't been woke enough. I'm telling you, I am a punk ass activist. All right. Alycia, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, these last few years definitely tested some Black-white friendships, that's for sure. Because if they weren't for you, you found out. And I had to let a couple of them go. I got some white ride or dies. I got some white ride or dies, but I also got some white fence riders. And I put them in categories. I feed them with a long handled spoon. And I mean, it tests some friendships, because I feel like that if something happened to other communities, I'm going to stand with them steadfast. I'm not going to make any excuses. You know, I'm not going to try to justify bad behavior, but they'll just, you know, they'll say dumb stuff. Like the guy said, don't resist arrest. You know, I will cut you off real fast for saying something that's stupid. You know, it's not nuanced enough. We watch white people resist arrest all the time. We watch white people charging cops with guns, machetes, all kinds of stuff, and they go home at night, or they go to jail. They're still alive. We've seen too many instances of white people doing stuff and still living. They resist arrest too. So that's not a good enough excuse.
But this is a good conversation to have, because I do believe that it has broken up a lot of friendships when it comes to Black and white. How do you resolve this, Dominque? I mean, should we be losing our white friends? I mean, it's one thing when Trump was in office and there was this heated and kind of polarizing sides being taken. Like, if you're for Trump, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. And, you know, and like I've mentioned several times on the show, my next door neighbor, who is white, is a Republican, but more than a Republican, he is definitely a Trump fan. And I have maintained our friendship in spite of, you know, him being a Trumpanite. I don't mind him being a Republican. It's the Trumpanite I mind, you know, but we remain friends and we have these conversations, but there are some conversations that I don't even want to have because I don't want to lose the friendship. So is this a good thing or bad thing that this racism is bubbling up to the top in such a way that people are losing friendships, Dominque?
I think it's a good thing. I saw a study, I want to say about 5 years ago, that most Americans do not have friends of other races. Most Americans, white, Black, Asian, they just stick with their own kind. So maybe, you know, these conversations will make that more possible. I would take it even a step further than Dr. Oleka. I don't need you to just empathize with me. I need you to go check your other white friends and family members. I need you to not just be tolerant. I need you to be an anti-racist, because white people built the system of white supremacy and they need to dismantle it. And they have to do that by being actively anti-racist. Now, I can understand, you know, finding common ground, and I believe in friends that I don't disagree with, that I do disagree with. I have Republican friends too, believe it or not. But I think we do have to
Dr. Oleka is one.
Yeah, that's right. Number one.
But we do have to push the envelope, and we might have to go buy them a copy of you know, Ibram X. Kendi, How to Be an Anti-Racist, and Robin DiAngelo, White Fragility. Read these, because there's so many microaggressions, so many stupid things people say when they're trying to prove they're not racist, like, I dated a Black girl. So did Thomas Jefferson, and he owned slaves. That is not good enough. They need to step up their game in terms of their sophistication in how they dismantle white supremacy.
Look, I think I need to read White Fragility. There needs to be a book just called Fragility, because now, look, even I'm trying to figure out what's offensive and what's not offensive. Hell, I don't even know at this point. Today, I want to say they were Asians and they were admiring my car in a way that I thought was rather racist. And I don't know if I would have thought that a year ago. They were like, well, is this your car? I mean, I'm offended already. Why can't it be my car?
Well,
and then he was like, oh, it's a great car. I like one of these cars. I don't have money. You have money? Well, why wouldn't I have money? I have this car. And then he was like,
well, Black women aren't allowed to have money. If we don't have money, we're welfare queens. And if we do have money, we're stealing from the people, because we just.
Well, I said, look, you can have this car. It's not that difficult. If you save your money, you can get whatever you want. Like it's not.
No, I wish I had been there, Tammy. I wish I had been. I said, listen, Mr. Man, this is how you get this car. Get a show on Fox Soul. This Tammy Mack, you don't know who you talking to. She got a radio show syndicated. Don't let her fool you. Acting like she been saving down at the Burger King for 40 years. This is Tammy Mack. Get it together.
Tammy Mack, I mean, you highlight the unique challenge that Black people, Black friends, play in this space. I mean, we are the spine of the anti-racist coalition. We are the backbone. And so by definition, sometimes we have to hold the whole world on our back. And as a result, sometimes our back might break. But we have to pick one another up when that happens. And it's not an easy thing to do. And it's difficult to make the right call every time And it's hard for us to do, but unfortunately, I think it is necessary if we want to see the reforms that we all want.
Take a quick break and come right back on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. The Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Boy, I tell you, good thing to have Dominque in your life, because she'll teach you a thing or two or three or four. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which was cleared for use in this country in February, has been put on pause after 6 women developed blood clots out of the 7 million people who received the shot. And one woman died 12 days after getting the vaccine. And Pfizer CEO just announced that people will likely need a 3rd dose of the COVID-19 vaccine within 12 months of being fully vaccinated. He also revealed that there is a strong possibility that vaccinations against COVID-19 will be needed every year to continuously protect. Now, my producers want me to ask this question. It's not generally a question I would ask, because I think it is a personal and private decision. So if you don't want to answer, you don't want to have to. Or if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. But have any of you taken the vaccine?
I have. 2 days ago, I got the Pfizer shot, my very first one. I didn't even feel it going to my arm. I turned my head to the right and it was done. And I felt nothing. I had no side effects. I was like, did they give me a placebo? It was just so easy breezy. And in 21 days, I'm supposed to get the second one. If I have to get another one in a year, if it was that easy. Now, if I've been sick, nauseous, pain, all throughout my body, chills, night sweats, whatever it is, and then and had to go back, I would not like that. But because mine was such an easy process, hey, I hope everybody that gets it has as easy a time as I did, because it was nothing for me.
Ed, I see you nodding in agreement.
Yeah, I took the Pfizer one as well, and same experience as Alycia, but it was one of these things. The moment became eligible, the moment I had the opportunity, it took myself, my wife, we were happy to get it. It brings you such a sigh of relief that you're not going to be put at risk. And certainly for anyone in the community that's eligible to take it, I would encourage you to do that, especially if the older generation get your vaccinations.
I'm so scared to ask Dr. Oleka or Dominque, to be honest. But go.
All right. Well, I agree that I think with you, Tammi, I think it's a personal choice. I would never tell someone to get a vaccine or tell them not to. I feel like you need to do a cost-benefit analysis on yourself. If you're 80 years old and you got grandkids coming over, you probably want to get vaccinated. If you're, obese, have diabetes, have, asthma, the main are diabetes, obesity. These are the underlying conditions that are killing people. And what we do know about the vaccine is that it has a really good track record, both of the ones that are currently available, in stopping death. People talk about all these side effects and stuff, but the death thing is pretty key. So I think, you got to do a cost benefit analysis. I have a teenager. He hangs out with his friends. I can't control that. So I did opt to go ahead and I got the Moderna shot. And I did have a reaction to it. The next day I was pretty knocked out, but I'm fine now. So far, so good. Haven't grown another head. But as you know, I'm a health and wellness enthusiast, and I don't know about taking one every year, to be honest with you. I'm very anti-pharmaceutical, very, herbs and vegetables type of person. But
yes, well, I am very surprised. I'm extremely surprised that you got it, because you are very health conscious.
Yeah, and I did some other things along with it, but I just think if you're gonna take it or if you're not gonna take it, you've got to take care of yourself. A shot ain't gonna do it. You gotta drink your water, get your rest, eat your vegetables, build up your immune system, and take responsibility for your own wellness.
Dr. Oleka.
Tammi Mac, this might be the weirdest Friday show you've ever had, because Dominque and I have agreed too many times so far. But I too did get the Pfizer shot. I got my second shot today, as a matter of fact. So all of you soulmates are seeing in real time my reactions, and so far things have been good and positive.
I don't know.
Well, you've been agreeing with Dominque. Yeah.
Well, to the point, I'm agreeing with Dominque too much. So if you get the vaccine, it'll make you agree with.
I think it got you. It crossed you over to the other side, my brother.
Let's see how he is next week, Tammi.
I will
This
say
could
this
be
on
a Jekyll
a
Hyde
serious
kind
note.
of thing.
Go ahead. Yeah.
the reason why I got it actually is because of a lot of things that Dominque said. I mean, my mother comes to take care of our little baby for half the week. She has already been vaccinated. My wife is a middle school principal, and so is around a lot of kids. She's been vaccinated. I just thought it made sense for me in my life to get the vaccine. Now, I will say again, I mean, it is a personal choice. Black folks in this country, we know that the medical system has not always been kind to us, especially with new vaccines. And as a conservative, I am very skeptical quite regularly of the bigness of anything. We talk about a lot of the bigness of government. I am also skeptical of the bigness of corporations, particularly pharmaceutical companies, because I'm concerned about the idea of it being an annual booster. Again, without us knowing all the data, without knowing all the information and the research, at some point this is going to stop being free, which means that there's going to be a lot of companies, a lot of people who are going to get their pockets lined with an annual vaccine and annual booster. Now, again, I'm all for health. I'm all for safety. And if this is the thing that is best to make that work, then I'm for it. But I get very skeptical initially when we haven't even been a year through vaccines yet. And already companies are saying, well, you're going to have to get one every year. To me, that seems a bit like, well, large companies trying to make a lot of money. Again, if it works, then I'm for it. But I am skeptical.
Tammi, I just want to say really quickly that, I have a radio show and I have interviewed so many scientists and so many doctors, chemists, Black people, people that were on the board of Moderna, people that, are in the lab working on COVID tests and such. And that is part of what helped me make my decision, because I really got to know the science behind this.
Okay. On day 13 of the Derek Chauvin trial, many were outraged when a defense witness, Dr. David Fowler, said carbon monoxide poisoning killed George Floyd. Well, prosecutor Jerry Blackwell wasn't having any of that outrageous claim. Let's take a look at what he said.
Monoxide. You remember that discussion, don't you?
I do indeed.
Now, just going right to the punchline on carbon monoxide, talked about it at some length. You haven't seen any data or test results that showed Mr. Floyd had a single injury from carbon monoxide. Is that true?
That is correct, because it was never sent to the laboratory for that test.
I asked you whether it was true, sir. Yes or no?
It is true.
Yes or no? Okay. And Derek Chauvin invoked the Fifth Amendment and said he will not testify in his own defense. Are we surprised? We're not surprised at that, right?
No, because he doesn't want to go to jail.
Yeah, we're not surprised at that. Dr. Oleka, you're not surprised at that, right?
Well, no, but I mean, it's smart, honestly. I mean, if somebody was his attorney, they'd say, invoke the Fifth and don't speak. We'll do that for you. So not saying I like the idea, but it certainly makes sense from a legal perspective.
Yeah. Alycia?
Yeah, I mean, that was the smartest thing he could do, because you could tell even with him answering that short amount of questions that he was arrogant as all hell and unlikable. Even him answering the question pissed me off. So that's the best thing he could have done, was just shut the hell up.
They probably wouldn't have picked you for the jury, Alycia.
Oh, I'd have been struck immediately. Because I'd have been in there. His ass is a white supremacist, and he shouldn't have been on the force. First of all, they said that he grew up in a part of Minnesota where there was really no people of color. I don't think you should be on the police force in a diverse area if you didn't grow up around anybody other than other white people. Because all you know about Black people is what you see on the news.
Okay. Ed, you surprised?
No, not at all. I mean, look, it's standard legal advice, right? To stay silent. But like everyone else, I want to hear him speak. So I think once we've got him convicted, I hope he does a 2020 interview, comes on the Tammi Mack show, and let's hear him speak for his words after we convict him.
Yeah, live from San Quentin. That'd be good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I don't. Well, he is arrogant enough to speak after he is. It will probably.
He'll get a job. He'll be a commentator somewhere.
Oh my. I have the best story that has ever happened since this pandemic in 2020 coming up next. So don't you go anywhere, soulmates. We're going to wrap up with a good one on the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. Back to the Tammi Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. Therese says, I lost a white person who I thought was a friend when she told me that racism didn't exist in 2020. I tried to talk to her, but the friendship crumbled in the end. I think back, I think she was maybe racist. That's what Therese said. I think back and I think maybe she was racist. Maybe you could be a racist if. Yolanda W says, well, I have white friends who have said they are uncomfortable with having certain conversations with me, but value the friendship enough to be uncomfortable. I think it's also very good that if you are a white person who wishes to be an ally and a friend, don't talk so much. You know, just don't talk so much. Just listen, let it soak in, and let that thing marinate. And then look at some instances where maybe what your friend talked about has happened in a real way. And then just the next day, just say, you know what, I'm sorry. And then don't say nothing else. Just don't talk no more. Don't talk so much. Y'all be quiet. Shh. Here's my favorite story of the week. U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Jonathan Pentland has been suspended from his duties at Fort Jackson and charged with third-degree assault following an assault that went viral of a young Black man who we only know by his first name, DeAndre, in South Carolina. Take a look at this.
You were the aggressor, buddy.
You're aggressing on their neighborhood.
Someone came running at the
You better walk away.
I didn't do anything.
I'm about to do something to you. You better start walking.
I didn't do anything to her.
You better start walking right now.
You come after me like that?
I ain't coming after you. You're in the wrong neighborhood, mother.
We hear that a lot, huh? Wrong neighborhood, mother. Throughout the 3-minute video, Pentland gets in the Black man's face, demands that he leave the neighborhood at once. And at one point, he pushes the man, making him almost fall to the ground. What's your thoughts on the initial video, seeing it?
Well, when I heard him say you're in the wrong neighborhood, I thought it was an all-white neighborhood. They said that's a predominantly Black neighborhood. So I was completely confused.
Yeah, then I also heard that there was a combination of Black people and white people in that neighborhood. But whichever case, you're right. It wasn't an all-white neighborhood.
Right. So I was like, oh, okay. I said, wow. When I heard that, there was a lot of Black folks in the area because I just assumed that this was an all-white neighborhood and they saw this Black guy, whatever happened, they just wanted him out of the area because he was Black, and that wasn't the case. This guy was just out of control, and I mean, he was two people were recording it. One was his wife, and then it was another girl. That's the girl that her friend uploaded it, and I'm like, so you don't even care that you're assaulting somebody on 2 different cameras. And it just goes to show you where we are today. People do not care that they're committing crimes on camera.
It's just like DeAndre body cam. It's just like the police body cams. Nothing's going to happen to us. So why? Why do we care? After the video of that incident went viral, the Black community showed up and showed out, baby. Show up and showed out. I mean, they took to that community like none other. So much that the man, Jonathan himself, had to leave in the middle of the night, him and his family. They left their homes with their luggages to go, but the rest of the neighborhood and the HOA are concerned that this might not be a good look for the community, Dominique.
You think? What was weird about that story too is they didn't just leave of their own accord. They actually had a police escort.
Yes, they did.
Got them to safety, which is really strange. Where were the police to get young DeAndre to safety when that dude was beating up on him? I think there's a lot more to this than meets the eye, because the guy does say we are a tight-knit community. Are all of these people like in a cult, or are they all in the army? Like, what is it? Because only rich people live there? I don't know, but clearly they targeted this young guy, and you know, and it was kind of nice to see people standing up for him.
It was extremely nice to see Black people en masse saying, look, we're not doing this anymore. We're not going to take this anymore. And if you mess with one of us, you come for all of us. And I saw some white people in the crowd too. And I don't think this should just be Black people's fight. This is America. And no American should want another American bullied or assaulted. No American. And so I'm kind of tired of it being Black people's fight when it's really not a Black person's fight. This is an American fight. And
right.
And so that bothers me a lot. Ed, go ahead.
Well, first we're going to run you for office because I think you're spot on. You're capturing, exactly what this country is about. And, I was kind of drawn by the irony and the change of how, in one instance, you've got the sergeant in the military and he's acting in an aggressive way towards a young man. But then there's the other story that we've also been tracking, which is of the lieutenant that was stalked by an officer in Virginia. And in the case in South Carolina, you can see the military they put him on administrative leave. But I haven't seen sort of the support for the lieutenant that was harassed by the police officer. And, there's this justification of how people are responding. But in two cases, you've got, a military person that is the aggressor and the other one where he's a victim. It just poses these interesting questions.
But these same people will...
Go ahead, Alycia.
These same people will try to say that Colin Kaepernick disrespected the military, but then they don't say anything when a military lieutenant is really getting disrespected. So that lets you know that it was never about the flag for these people either. And as far as DeAndre and that situation goes, all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Dr. Oleka, wrap us up. Take us on home for the weekend.
Well, I'll say this. The thing that made me excited about this story is that people saw a bully and they protected the bullied. Too often, as you pointed out, Tammi Mack, in this country, Black issues become a Black fight. But in this story, it was a community issue that became a community fight because they saw a member of their own, who happened to be Black, getting bullied. So for all of us, we can do our part to protect the bullied against the bully, regardless of who they are, and especially in these situations where we don't have the power. But where there's people, there's always power.
Well, my power tonight lies in wrapping up this show. Thank you so much, everybody, for being on the Tammi Mack Late Show. Dr. Oleka, Ed, Dominque, and Alycia. Until Monday, everybody, it's a blessing to be in your box. Bye, y'all.